everybody. Welcome to Adventures in Lollygagging.
Melissa, you broke. I know Jeff can't break character, and it pains him to have the silence. I'm sure he's fine with it here because, he can always cut it off on the edit. But anyways, welcome in Aventur Adventures in Lollygagging. We are playing Magnus Archives, y'all. Jeff and I are feuding right now. We just had our annual performance reviews, and mine did not come out well. So I am a little bit hurt by that. I have some very strong emotions that I'm feeling right now. Long, how did your performance review go?
Well, I'm renewed.
You're renewed.
There's that.
That's all he cares about. He got another year on the contract. I'm on a probationary period now. I was told that my summaries were too long, and they were just, frankly, they were shit. So, I have to learn to be more concise and use words better. Something along those lines. I wasn't really listening.
More better.
Everyone else get decent performance reviews. We're all here, right?
I feel like
I think you're the only Pip. So sorry.
Thanks for that, Ashley. Just calling that out. There are other people on the channel who aren't in this game. We could have had we could have kept.
Ashley, I like how the use of Pip broke him. Good job with that.
Yeah.
Good job.
Oh my God, the corporate lingo I've been dying in this week. Please save me.
I'm so bad at corporate lingo. I didn't even realize that was corporate lingo.
It is.
I've been out of the game for too long.
It is.
All right. So last session, we started with Frieda being late to work. She lost a couple hours during her commute somehow. And then the team started work on a new statement. It came in via audio recording attached to an email. Zander was the one who received the recording first, and he was told by their boss, Ludwig, that both he and Emily would be the lead archivists on this case. Zander, of course, then put all of the responsibility on Emily and said that she will be the lead for the case. So we'll see how that goes. The author of the statement, Timo Donauer, detailed how he encountered a trespasser at his family's abandoned farmhouse. And while he was trying to track down the man, he blacked out and woke up in the farmhouse sometime later. He claimed to be liquefying, describing his body as melting. And according to him, the audio recording that he sent to the Institute was not a plea for help, but rather an account of his final days so that he would not be forgotten. He felt that his story had to be told. The research team performed some groundwork for researching Donauer and his family and the property before heading to the property. And towards the end of the drive, Zander, you had a bout of deja vu. You were driving, you recognized a field with 2 dead cows in there, and it was eerily similar to a dream you had several nights prior. We're going to start with you, Zander. I would like to offer you a GM intrusion. And a GM intrusion is when something bad happens, but you can choose to avoid it by spending an XP. So would you like to avoid this GM intrusion or accept it and gain an XP?
Ooh, what does XP allow us to do again?
It allows you to avoid GM intrusions, and it allows you to level up, which is what experience points normally do.
Okay. I have plenty to spare, I think. I'll spend 1, see what happens.
You're going to avoid it?
Yeah.
Okay. You have this feeling of deja vu. Man, I did not expect that from you, Long. You always go for it.
I kind of didn't either. I was like, yeah, YOLO, see what happens.
You're committed now. You can't take it back. You are in the shotgun of this VW van. Naveen is driving, and you just feel overcome with this sense of deja vu. You're starting to remember this dream vividly, but when you had the dream first, you were watching this field with this man who had an axe and a dog, and he was walking across the field, and he started hacking at these cows. And you're remembering this dream, but the perspective has completely shifted on you. In this case, you are the man with the axe. It's as if your memory has entirely changed. You remember walking through the field. You remember the footprints left behind. You remember the sound of the axe trailing across the dirt and the rocks that it would clang against. And you remember slashing into these cows. You remember the blood splattering on you. You remember the taste of it as it got into your mouth. Give me an intellect save here. You avoided the intrusion, so this isn't going to be a big deal, but it's going to be difficulty 3.
And this is where my inability and defense takes effect?
If you have an inability and intellect defense, then it becomes difficulty 4, yes.
Okay.
And remember, you can spend intellect points to have effort to lower the difficulty as well. That would be 3 points.
Right.
Minus whatever edge you have.
I don't have any edge in it. Only 8 points, so I'll spend 3 to neutralize my inability.
Okay, sounds good. So you're looking for a 9 or better on your roll.
I think that rolled out. I got a 0 or 2. So it's a 0.
You got a 2, which beats difficulty 0. However, that is not an intrusion. We are not in horror mode yet, so only a 1 is a critical fail at this point. You snap out of the deja vu, but your hand, you instinctively just trail up. You can still taste that blood, and you pull back your hand from your lips, and you see that there is blood. Throughout this deja vu, you have essentially, you feel you bit your tongue like so hard that it drew blood, and you take 1 stress here.
Is this physical stress? Because I have an ability that can ignore up to 3 points.
Is this what stress?
Physical, because I did it to myself.
Yeah. What's your ability? Do you mind reading it out?
Yeah, it's resilience, so I can ignore the first 3 points of stress I would take in a day from physical sources.
That's perfect for this.
Okay.
Yes. So that still works, I think, for the next 2 points as well.
Right.
So what does this look like for you, though?
Yeah, I'm staring out the window, just in a trance. And when I snap out of it, I've bitten my tongue. I'm bleeding a bit. Someone, napkin?
Yeah, and Frieda will dig around in her briefcase and like hand you a napkin.
I want to get a weird sense of deja vu.
Like, do we think you've hurt yourself like that before? I don't remember that.
No, I'm sure that's happened plenty, but...
Like, been here? I've never been here. Is that what you...
I feel like I recognize the place.
Oh, maybe you've been here before.
Can't be.
Naveen, you're pulling up this long, unpaved driveway. It's really just compacted gravel, and it needs repair. It's not been taken care of in a long time. You are right next to Zander, so even just like glancing over, you can see he's not actually looking at the house in front of you. He's looking beyond whatever the focus of that memory is. It's not actually the house, it's the field beyond. If you follow his eyes, you would see that there are 2 dead cows out in that field as well. You see the bodies that are lying, just the silhouette of their sides. As you pull the car forward, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Not to interrupt, I'm sorry, but she does kind of visibly gasp, and I think like, Zander, did you see those? And she's kind of pointing to the cows.
Yeah, so I saw those. That's a bit fuzzy. It feels like I've seen it before.
Naveen, you pull the car up the drive, and it just softly rolls to a stop. Everyone gets out and starts stretching their legs. Zander, you no longer can see the field beyond. The house in front of you is this low German house. That's what they're called, low German house, because you're in the lower part of Germany. And it's essentially a barn. It looks almost like an old Saxon hall, and how it's like an A-frame that just goes lengthwise, and they're quite common in this area. It has some windows that go around the outside. It has wood beams that crisscross all the way around, plaster in between the beams, and it's not like centuries old, but it is an older style that's been recreated in modern days. Zander, you step out of this van and just try to get some fresh air. It does help. It helps get that scent out of your nose, get that taste out of your mouth. And you just take a couple steps, and you take a couple steps further than the rest, as if you're just walking absentmindedly, trying to walk it off, and your foot clanks against the haft of a wooden axe in the grass nearby on this driveway.
I'll bend over to pick it up.
You pick it up. It looks like it's been sitting out here for years. The blade is incredibly rusty. The wood itself looks rotten. Like if you tried to swing this at something, the actual handle would break in half, likely. And it's probably so dull at this point that it wouldn't even cut anything. But it also looks eerily similar.
I'll set it aside for now.
You all regroup outside of the van, and I'm going to turn it over to you. How do you want to go about this investigation here?
I think we should try to find where his body is. If he was melting, we want to.
That's a good idea.
Perhaps he's still alive. Did he say that he walked away from his farmhouse and he was at another location?
We know he was dragged, I think, from the shed to the farmhouse.
So if you want to review the statement, we can say that you were reviewing it on the way there. The timeline events was that he was at the house. There was a person knocking on the door, trespassing on the property, didn't get inside the house. And during the daytime, he went looking for that person, and he found a shack that was a good distance away from the farmhouse. He said it was no longer on the property. That shack is where he blacked out and then woke up again inside the farmhouse. And that's where he said he was when he was recording.
Yes, the farmhouse. That's where we should go first.
We tell people in the home that we're here, and what are we talking about?
I think from our research, there shouldn't be anyone here because all of his relatives had deceased, I believe, his father and brother. But let's go bang on the door. So Emily, I'll just go bang, bang, bang on the door.
You walk up to the door, and you can immediately tell that no one has at least maintained this property in years. You can go up to the door, and the steps that go up, the 2 or 3 steps that go up to this door, there are weeds that are growing in between the cracks of the step. The weeds along the sides grow up several feet high. You also notice that in those weeds, which actually tracks with the statement, there is a pile of old magazines and books. If you remember from the statement, he said that he left books out on the front step to try and appease this trespasser. And apparently it did not work. So you can see, apparently it's rained since then as well, because these books, they just look soaked. They look ruined. You knock on the door, you hear it echo throughout the house. Like it's just that booming, this thick wooden door. But there's no response. And it's one of those things where you're listening and there's no movement. There doesn't seem to be any sort of life coming from inside this house.
Is there any signs of someone trying to enter from the outside?
Yeah. So would you say that you're walking around the house?
Yeah, I'll take a look around.
Is he going alone?
If no one chooses.
Sounds like it.
I'm staying with Emily.
Okay, Zander, you walk around the house.
Bootsin will go with Zander to ensure that the job is done correctly.
You're such a troll. Zander, you walk around the house.
Not a troll. I am a human. Perhaps you are mistaken.
I must be. You walk around the house, and you don't notice any signs of vandalism. There's no broken windows. You do find that there is a back door that looks like it goes into the house as well. There's just those 2 entrances, and there's also a cellar door. It's the 2 wooden doors that you pull upwards to go into a cellar. those look rusted and like they haven't been opened in years and years. But you do notice something strange about this house as you're walking around. These wooden beams that they run the entire length of the house, they have deep etchings and carvings into them all the way around. Like there's, dozens and dozens of feet of these etchings in the beams here. And it looks like some sort of complex mathematical equation that just infinitely continues.
Lucian, can you wrap your brain around this?
It is a foolish question on several fronts. First of all, yes. Second of all, if I were to wrap my brain around it, I would have to be deceased, for my brain is in a single mushy shape within my skull.
Not literally, just figuratively.
I was making a joke. Naveen has suggested that my interpersonal skills could be improved.
Got me with that one.
Lucian, I need an intellect check here. It's going to be difficulty 5.
I have some things I would like to ask if I could ease this ability first. There is mathematics.
Absolutely works.
Second, there is occultism.
That works too.
Third, there is perception.
I don't think perception would necessarily work here because it is clearly visible.
Fourth, there is philosophy. If it's some sort of erudite, it's okay to say no.
I think no on this because it would be covered by the occult.
The next one is religion.
Yeah, we'll give you religion.
That is kind of you to say. Might I make use of my understanding ability in this case to spend an elongated amount of time studying this object so that my next interaction with it gains an asset to further lower my ability?
Absolutely makes sense. There's a lot to read and to go all the way around. It would take a good bit of time to read every etching here. That would work perfectly.
That has put me down to what difficulty level now, please?
Put you down to difficulty 1.
I see.
And thanks to our YouTube commenters, last session I was mistaken. We actually can go down to difficulty 0 if you have enough things that bring you down there. Check it up with Monty Cook, I guess. That's how he wrote the game.
I knew that to be the case, but I did not want to undercut you.
Are you going to put some effort towards this so that it would be difficulty 0?
I am going to spend 2 intellect because I have an edge. It reduces my intellect spends so that the difficulty is down to 0. Because I really want this to work so I can shove it in Zander's face.
All right.
I rolled.
You don't need to roll,
18.
actually. When
but
it's
I felt
routine,
like
you don't
doing it anyway.
You rolled an 18.
What if I would have rolled a 20?
I wouldn't have given it to you because when it's difficulty 0, you don't roll. That's the rules. Take it up with Monty Cook.
Then I would have muted you, and then I would have lectured the stream on various
like I said, we're feuding. We got upset at the performance review.
In 41 minutes.
All right. This exterior is a very complex mathematical equation. And from a practical mathematics point, it's gibberish, complete gibberish. But from an occult or religious standpoint, not Christian religion, but an older Greek religion, it becomes quite clear. This equation makes sense as long as this repeated variable is removed. This variable, it's an omicron, like the Greek O, defined as a physical constant, similar to how C is for light, G is for gravity. This omicron it just continues throughout this whole equation all the way around the house. And if you take it out, then it's completely solvable for you.
I will convey this to Zander. So, once removing it, then, there are two things. First, we'll note the fact that that which needs to be removed is significant, but then also that what remains once it is removed could potentially be significant as well.
And what remains is a perfectly balanced equation, essentially 0 equals 0.
And so, Lucian will explain this in extraordinary detail so that Zander's small mind can understand it.
All right. What does it mean exactly?
I do not know what it means exactly, but of course it is quite curious. The fact that there is this equation carved into this place is not curious to you. This is not the sort of thing that people regularly carve into their homes. Secondly, it is somewhat complex, not for me, of course, but for an average person, perhaps a college graduate, would have difficulty observing this. You are fortunate that I am here.
Very fortunate. Let's see what else we can find.
Let's go ahead and cut back to Emily there. Lucian, unless you had something else.
No, go right ahead.
Emily, you knocked on the door. Zander and Lucian took off around the corner. Frieda and Naveen are with you. What are you doing?
Emily, again, and she's doing like police bang on the door. Like there's no timidity here. And so she, again, kind of like bangs on the door and yells, Timo Donauer. Timo Donauer. Bang, 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 bang. And then
again,
kind of
no
will say
response.
like, we will enter if we hear nothing.
And you do hear nothing. Maybe after banging a second time, you hear like a bird rustle in a nearby tree. Flies away from you startling it, but there is no response from inside the house.
Frieda, Naveen, do either of you have lock-picking equipment?
No. Maybe there's a window we can break it and climb in. Or did we want to go start at the farmhouse?
Is the
Did
door
you
locked?
try the front door, Emily?
No.
So Frieda just asked you if the door's locked.
Yeah, because while you're at the door, Frieda's in her briefcase. She's getting out her flashlight. She's got her camera like clipped to her lapel to like record. I'm so sorry. And then she's got her microphone also out to record as we go through the house.
Frieda, let me ask you.
Is the door locked? What an interesting question.
Frieda, let me ask you. When you ask her if the door's locked, you're one of the most senior archivists here. You've got plenty of experience being lead on a case. And you were told that Emily is the lead on this case. She is the rookie. She's the newest one here. Is there a tone when you ask, is the door locked?
Despite the struggle she's been with work, I'd say no. Because they're friends outside of work.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
So Emily, you go and you try the door then?
Yes, she knows it's her first statement in charge, and so she's right away forgotten the basics of just try the door handle. So she's like,
yeah, it was like a very casual. I was like, I'm busy, but it's also like is the door locked? Perhaps.
What a very interesting question. And then she goes and jiggles the door handle.
You jiggle the door handle and it turns. And you open it and it goes a couple inches and then it hits on something. It's being blocked on the other side.
Good news. Door is unlocked. Good thought, Frieda. But there's something blocking. The state of the stoop is any indication of a state inside. There's something. Can't quite get it. And she's sort of like trying to hip check it as she's saying this, and it's just not going.
Give me, if you're trying to force it, it's going to be might difficulty 3.
Oh, I don't know that I've ever rolled might. All right, I will spend 3 for effort.
So that lowers it to difficulty 2, so you need a 6 or better.
13.
There you go.
Nice.
You hip check it a couple times, and each time you do, you hear the scratching of wood on wood, like furniture being dragged across a wooden floor. And you realize that there's like a bureau or a dresser of some sort there, and you're able to just, you don't even have to like hit it that hard, but just continually working at it and slowly pushing it a little bit more and a little bit more, and you're able to get the door open wide enough that you can easily slip through.
Does that align with the statement? Didn't he say something about blocking the doors and stuff and windows?
He did say he blocked the door, yes. And the statements are in the journals as well if you want to refresh.
And I like to imagine Frieda may have said that out loud.
Yeah,
and Emily
well, like,
it's like, oh yes, he did say that. Yes, Frieda, you are correct. It was blocked, but it's open now. And she sort of like holds the door open for Frieda and Naveen to go in.
All right, so you're letting them go in first?
Uh-huh.
Frieda and Naveen, are you going in?
Yeah, Naveen will walk through.
I'll use.
All right, who's going in first?
I'd like to use careful observation. It's one of my abilities.
Absolutely.
So I'd like to carefully examine our surroundings.
Naveen has no such compunctions and just walk through.
Naveen, you're going to go ahead and walk through then. Frieda, you're looking a little bit more closely. We'll say that one of the details you pick up on are some of the books that are in the weeds here. Most of them are like old Nat Geo magazines and things like that. They're trash. But there are 2 books that seem somewhat interesting. One of them is an old leather cover, and it's printed with the words Mino Macria. And then there's another one that also has a black leather cover, but this one's just a Bible. It's a standard Luther Bible, which is like the equivalent to King James for Germans.
What is this needless besmirching of Nat Geo? They're interesting reading. What are we doing? They're trash.
They're like 30 years old, though, and they've been ruined by rain.
Oh, fine. After you, ladies.
Yeah, and Frieda will grab the books and set them more under the cover, so in case it does rain again for some reason, she can get them on her way out.
You don't want to even just hold them with you?
Or yeah, sure, why not?
You said you have a bag, so you could easily throw them in there.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Once you walk
give me an
in,
intellect
Naveen's
save.
first
No, I'm just
instinct
kidding.
is
Okay.
to
I'm
look
just
for
kidding.
people.
Naveen, you said you were
Sorry.
going in, right? And you're looking for people.
Yeah.
As soon as you slip in, you are hit by this smell. It's a musty smell, dust, the expected odor of a house that's been closed up for some time. But as you take a couple more steps in, there's something just wretched. This terrible stench of death, decay. Something's died in here, whether it's dead rats, maybe a dead raccoon, or maybe a dead Timo Donauer. It smells awful.
And she has sort of this visible like grimace at that. Oh, do you guys smell that?
Oh dear.
Unfortunately.
Hold on. And Emily goes into her bag, and I'd like to imagine
do
she
you think
has.
that's the guy in the statement, or do you think that's something else?
Oh, let's hope. Here, and she has like cloth like handkerchiefs. Here, and she like has enough for like all 3 of us.
They're essential oils.
Yes.
Love it.
Absolutely. Here, this will help. This will help.
Oh,
Fantastic.
you are a
And
lifesaver.
It does help too. Just being able to have that little bit of extra filter, and the scent of the cloth is what you're taking in more than anything. It's not perfect, but it helps. you look in this house and you are in this long hallway. It's a somewhat wide hallway. You can see that it goes further back and it crosses with another hallway. Essentially, these kind of houses, likely you are somewhat familiar with them. Even if you didn't grow up in one or you grew up in the city, you would have seen pictures of them growing up and things like that. So the center of this house is a T. And the back end of that T, where it crosses from wall to wall, is this large communal dining, kitchen, living area. This hallway that you're in has 3 doors on either side. And you would know that those likely go to storerooms, workrooms, things like that for the use of the farm. And normally in a house like this, the bedrooms are on the far back of the house. As you're looking at the main hallway, Frieda, your flashlight would go almost all the way back. It looks like no one's been in here in some time. There's dust everywhere. You can see that there are recent footprints, but no one's lived here in some time. There's the occasional piece of furniture, like a wooden chair, the occasional box just set aside, but there's no furnishings. There's nothing that really makes it livable or a home.
Are there any photographs of family?
Nothing on the
friends,
walls or anything like that, no.
Okay.
All right, shall we clear room by room, or
yes,
like
there's
to approach this?
3 doors. We could each take a door.
3 doors
Do
on
you-
either side, which is 6 doors.
Do you guys have flashlights? Because I think Frieda has the only.
I have a flashlight.
Naveen
Okay.
has one.
Oh, perfect. Okay, yeah, then.
Yeah, survival kit for the win.
Yeah. I'm
Perfect.
happy to take a door.
Okay, 3 doors on the right first.
And
Whatever you
synchronized.
need, Amon.
You all open the doors at once. Frieda will say your door catches on like a box or something, but you had enough strength that you were able to slide it out of the way. Naveen, Emily, you are both looking in on empty rooms. It looks as if these were like storerooms, like you would expect, like essentially like tool sheds that are built into the house. You see that there's shelving, a couple benches that were built into the walls, but there's no tools left. There's no real boxes in here. Frieda, yours has a bit more. It has a few boxes here and there that were like left behind. Most of them are they look like they were chewed up by rats. There's not much to find. It's mostly just rusty junk and tools. We'll say that the 3 of you regroup and you do the same thing on the other side, and it's very similar.
Okay.
There's a lot of like pieces of farm equipment on this side. These were a little bit bigger. There's like a rusty tractor that's parked inside one of these that had like a garage door that opened up. But there's nothing much else. These were just workrooms, and there's nothing left.
Is the smell particularly stronger in any?
It's actually
of the
better in those
spaces?
rooms.
Okay.
Those are just, they smell musty. They smell old, but they don't
Okay.
have that same stench of death.
Okay. That is going to be just kind of something Naveen uses out loud to Frieda and Emily. Like, smells almost like better in those rooms.
They must have been closed off from whatever else happened in the home.
Yes, perhaps. And so Emily is trying to
Maybe there's
juggle.
something like dead under the floorboards in the living room or something. Like maybe that's what it is.
Well, if he did melt, we might need to find where he melted into.
Do we know that bedrooms, like where bedrooms typically are? In
Yeah, normally
houses
they're
like
at the far
this?
end of the house, near that
Okay.
communal living area, that wide open living area.
Okay, Naveen's gonna suggest that that's where we check out based on what Emily just said.
One second. And so Emily's trying to juggle. She has a journal and pen. And so she's kind of trying to keep this kind of handkerchief over, and she's sort of holding the journal, and she has a pen out, and she's trying to like draw the house. And we had like 6 rooms. And so she's sort of like making notes and numbering the room. And she's like, room 1, and then what was in there, and room 5, and what was in there, and room 3. And she's like going through all of the rooms and like numbering all of them and making notes and like
Love it.
it's sort of like we have to pause and we've got to do these things. And okay. Where to next?
Well, you had the very good idea of seeing if we could find his body. So should we go look at the bedroom?
Do we take off the handkerchiefs and follow our noses?
Oh, I'd really rather not. I would
rather not either. But you were very correct that the smell is not as bad here, which means we might have gone the wrong way. So we go to where the smell is worst.
So you go deeper into this house then, and it's a few steps to get out of this hallway into this open living area. It goes the width of the house from wall to wall. And there is like a stove that and like kitchen counter that's built into the back of this wall. There is a fireplace in the center with the chimney like above the smoke catcher. I forget what it's actually called. And this room actually does show a little bit sign of life. There is a wooden chair and a couple boxes that are stacked up next to the chair. Around this chair, like piles of trash, like junk food trash, like bags of chips and things like that are just discarded now. You also, as you go over there, you see a bucket that's filled with refuse that has not been emptied. You almost don't even smell it. It smells bad once you get closer to it, but it's just being overpowered by that other smell that gets even stronger as you're back here. You see that there are 3 doors on the back end of this house. Likely each one goes to a bedroom. You want to do the same thing where each one opens a door?
Yeah.
Before we do though, I have a question about the chip bags. Are they visibly from like a few years ago or something? Like, do they have
recent,
like
yes.
older branding or
No,
newer?
they look modern.
Okay. That's all. I just wanted to know that. Thank you.
Lay's like, okay. 7, 8, 9. Ready? Then we're gonna go in room 7, 8, and 9 because she's counting all of the rooms as we go through.
Right. Each one of you gets a door. You do your countdown. You open the door. And we'll go ahead and cut back to Lucian and Zander real quick. Lucian, this is about how long it took for you to read the entire equation. You solved it as you were reading it, of course, keeping track of everything in your mind. But this is how long it took you to walk the house and make sure you got the entirety of the thing. What are you two doing now?
How large is this domicile?
It's fairly large. It's about... I'm trying to do some calculation from American to metric in my head. I'd say it's about 20 meters long.
You're saying it took me a longer amount of time to walk 20 meters around than it took 3 of them?
It's 20 meters on the long side, which means that it's actually 40, we'll say like 60 meters all the way around.
The point is that they have gone into a home. They have cleared and inspected 6 rooms, which clearly took time.
They didn't actually search the rooms. They just
You
looked at them.
seem to have misunderstood my intellect and my speed.
I'm sorry that I have diminished your intellect. Maybe next time you'll give me a better performance review. You know,
Zander,
we'll see how it goes.
Something occurs to me.
Is something bothering you?
What was taken? What was removed from the equation was the Greek letter Omicron. Do you know what else Omicron means?
Omicron, I'm not familiar.
It is a species of wasp. Were you aware of that?
Not at all.
It's a particular kind of potter wasp. Black in origin. We have been beset by insects quite frequently of late. And that the letter Omicron, the only Greek letter that represents an insect, was removed from this equation to make it equal. Seems peculiar.
You think there are wasps involved?
I have not seen any, but it is curious. Also, Omicron radiation is an energy form which can only be created by certain forms of matter and antimatter reactions. It can be toxic to certain forms of life as well. I learned this from Star Trek.
Star Trek. I'm familiar with that.
Are you?
Yes, I just said I was.
Good.
What is curious is a cellar on the side here. Shall we check it out?
I was thinking the same thing. Yes. Perhaps the family's archives are hidden below this mysterious book.
And I'll crack it open when we get to it.
All right. Give me a might difficulty 4 to try and bust through these rusted hinges.
All right. I've got endurance, if that applies as a skill.
How are you enduring it?
If it's a tough task, I'm exerting excessive strength to get through.
I'll give it to you this time.
All right. And I'll spend 2 might because I have 1 edge in it.
All right. That lowers the difficulty 2, so you need a 6 or better.
I can do that. No, I can't. I got a 3.
No, you can't. Wow.
You keep trying for a good amount of time because you can endure anything. Yes, Lucian, what are you doing?
Lucian would like to tap Zander on the shoulder while he is doing this.
What's it? It's a tough door.
Lucian reaches into his backpack and he pulls out his bolt cutters to see if he might snip the hinges.
I won't give you a reroll, but I will count the bolt cutters as an asset, which would lower your difficulty to 1. You did roll a 3, which passes difficulty 1.
Ooh, that's a
No. I want him to fail. This is not to assist him. This is for me to succeed at the task by
you want
playing
to
smarter, not harder.
All right, Lucian, give me the might roll with an asset for the bolt cutters. So you're looking at difficulty 3 after the asset.
I'm using bolt cutters to snip the hinges. I am not trying to break through the door as he did.
Bolt cutters still take a good amount of strength, though.
Do you understand how bolt cutters work?
I've used them several times.
Is that like pulling a shovel? What do you do with
find
bolt
it
cutters?
Oh my
peculiar
goodness.
to
Oh my
set the
goodness. Don't start,
difficulty
Mel.
for a basic tool that is part of an item that you select to be so high? That is fascinating. I do not recall you asking whoever was driving to roll a driving test to use the tool of the vehicle. But I see.
I was going to give Long the success anyways. Fine. You use the bolt cutters.
I do
you
not
open
want
it up.
Zander to have any success. No. I will spend 3 might to roll your silly test. Because that is what you do. And I rolled a 2, so I am unsuccessful as well. So Lucian will turn to Zander, and he will say, well, it looks like we will never get inside of this cellar. We might as well go home.
That can't be. No, there's a way.
No, it is clear that we have been stymied. We should leave now before we become like the cows in the field.
We will not become like them. No, I'll try again.
if you wish.
He used bolt cutters on it, so that changes
Nope,
the situation.
Lucian failed at using the bolt cutters.
But
He
you did
throws them
still-
into the field. He says, these are useless. What was the point of me putting them into my bag if they would not be usable in such a
You're
situation?
an asset. Equipment eases the difficulty. That's how the rules work. Can I just let you in the cellar now?
No,
Is this okay?
we must earn it. We cannot get in there for free. Otherwise, what was the point of the rolls?
Zander might difficulty 3 because it's been weakened with the bolt cutters.
You're
You can take
breaking
endurance to
him.
lower it to 2.
You're breaking him. You're tearing us apart, Lucian.
Wait, is rerolling? How does rerolling work? Am I allowed to?
This is just a new roll. We're saying
Okay.
the situation has changed because you got to earn it.
Oh boy,
You got this.
I got a 6 this time.
Oh, thank God. Oh, thank God. Just barely made it. All right. The cellar doors they splinter into 1,000 pieces. They don't exist anymore. Bits of wood go flying everywhere as if you're just so strong. They just go flying backwards. And the dank, musty smell of the cellar pulls out with this newfound breeze. You look down, you see that there are wooden stairs that descend into this darkness. Yes.
Lucian will put a hand on Zander's shoulder before he goes down, and he will say, could you imagine how difficult this would have been to enter if this cellar door was remotely new, if it hadn't been rusted and worn over the years? It was so difficult for the two of us to bypass it with all of our strength and our intelligence that if this was a new door, it would have been impossible, I think. There must be true treasures and riches beneath here.
I think you're missing something. If it was new, maybe easier. Right? A lock or two? Easy open.
What a fascinating bit of logic, Zander. Between that and the Star Trek thing, you are beginning to show your true colors.
Maybe you're rubbing off on me. Let's go.
Do either of you have light?
Yeah, I have a flashlight.
All right. You click that
I
on.
have night vision goggles, but I won't put them on because I probably don't know how to use them.
You click on the flashlight and you go down. The steps creak with your weight on them, but you go down, and then the final step, you realize that it's underwater. It looks like this basement has flooded. It's not very deep, probably about a foot or so. You shine your light a little bit further in. You see that there are like boxes here and there, a few wooden crates. There are some shelves. It looks like this was used for storage. How much of it is still salvageable with all this water down here? Who knows?
Was the cellar mentioned in the statement at all?
The statement mentions the cellar, that the Timo did not want to go in the cellar, is
Right, okay.
specifically what it mentions.
Let's see what we can find.
Yes. Perhaps there is something on these shelves.
All right. So if you want to search through this, it's going to be intellect difficulty 3. If you're both searching, then I'll lower the difficulty to 2, and either one of you can roll.
Yeah, I can assist them in this if this is a thing.
Would my perception be
Absolutely.
applicable here? Okay. I have rolled a 14.
Fantastic.
Difficulty
All right.
4.
You have to open up several of these boxes. Most of them don't have much use. Like there's papers that have just been dissolved from years and years of being in this water. One of them has a dead rat in there that's just bloated. from the moisture. But you get to one, and it was set on top of one of these wooden crates, which protected it a little bit from the moisture. And inside of it is some papers that they seem just like old keepsake. There's nothing really memorable in there, but there's also inside this cardboard box a metal lock box, and the key is inside the lock.
Zander, we have found a lockbox of sorts. Are there any adornments or engravings upon its exterior that might indicate who it belonged to?
No, there's no real markings. It's that like brownish gray that's very common to lockboxes, the kind of thing that you could have picked up at any office supply store.
Lucian will turn the key and open it.
And let's go ahead and cut back to Emily, Frieda, and Naveen here, as the three of you each took a door to open and to search this house. Emily, did you take the middle door?
Sure. That
I
works.
thought you might say that. I need an intellect saving throw here, difficulty 4.
All right. I will spend 2 intellect to get for effort on that. Oh, I rolled a 1. And I rolled a 1. So I have 2 XP. Does that matter? Because this
So
is
technically on the
rolled
rolls, you
1.
can't buy those off. I
Okay,
did
that's
let my tray do it to be nice last session.
No, that's fine. I'll take it.
All right. Frieda and Naveen, you both open your doors and you find just empty bedrooms. There's a box here and there, a few papers like scattered across the floor, no furniture whatsoever. Emily, you open your door and you're immediately hit by this smell. I'm going to say with the GM intrusion, you're going to immediately begin retching from the stench of this. You're going to take 4 stress here. That's from the intrusion. I'm adding an extra stress. It would have been 3 otherwise.
And so she's, had this kind of cloth handkerchief over her mouth. It's got kind of the essential oils. And so like as the door, she opened the door, she sort of like takes a deep breath through that, thinking that she's going to get, sort of that essential oil scent, and just kind of takes in the deep breath and, and I would imagine because GM intrusion, she literally throws up into this like handkerchief that she's been holding and just like, and just throws up like literally just like in her hand before she can kind of move her hand away.
And you like almost immediately start to fling it away just instinctively, but you see that goop, that vomit that you just threw up, and you toss it. Your eyes, they go up and they see the bed on the far side of this room, and there's a much, much larger pile of what looks almost like vomit, this red bile. It's chunky. There's bits and pieces of like lumps inside this liquid that's soaked into this just very bare mattress. There's a threadbare blanket and a chair cushion positioned like a pillow that's like on top of the mess that's been soaked into. The entire setup is just coated in this dried morass of gore. You're able to regain your wits after throwing up like that, but you took the 4. Yeah. Do you make a noise or anything like that?
Oh, like I feel like throwing up is a very loud enterprise. So she's just like, oh my God. Oh, Frieda, Naveen. I think we found him.
Reflexively running.
Yeah.
And I would imagine, and either one of you, like, she throws up again as you're like coming over towards it. So if like she either narrowly or does throw up on your shoes as you're like coming over to like,
Naveen goes to her hair like she's like,
Emily, did you leave the room?
I don't think so. Like, I think she's
Okay.
she's
So, Naveen,
just there.
You go in there to hold
like,
her hair, and you knew something was wrong. So you don't have to make the check, but you take 2 points of stress just by entering this room, just by seeing what's there. Just this, it's fleshy goop.
And you hear Frieda in the other room as she's walking out because she's speaking to her microphone for notes for us for later. Apparently, the remains have been found behind door 8, which Emily checked. I am now going to review and take pictures. And then she like enters the room.
And you're going to immediately take that 2 points of stress too.
Yep. Is in any of the rooms we've been in, have the windows been broken?
No, none of them have had broken windows. A couple of them were like boarded up for protection from storms and things like that. But it doesn't look like anyone tried to break in here through a window.
Okay. And she'll also like record that because in the statement he mentioned he broke in through a window. And so she'll say conflicting,
So broke in through a window, like he could have opened a window that was unlocked. He didn't actually.
Oh, possibly, yeah. So she'll explain it like that in her mention then.
But the three of you are now in this room, and this mattress, just this lumpy mattress, is on the far side. Next to the bed on the floor is a wallet and a smartphone. Other than that, you don't see a sign of a person whatsoever.
Yeah, let's put on some like gloves and we're gonna like get the phone and the wallet and review those first before like taking pictures of the body.
The phone is dead. There's no battery to it. The wallet, you open it up, it's got a few euros in there. And it's got the ID of Timo Donauer.
Okay. And then in this general room, I'd like to just, I guess, investigate and look for any other clues or any other information we can get.
Okay. Naveen, what are you doing?
I'm very focused on Emily in this moment. So I think just kind of are you okay, like holding her back, like seeing that Frieda is kind of like looking around the room, she doesn't feel the need to help with that because it's being taken care of. So she's focusing on Emily.
No, I don't think I'm okay.
Should we leave? Why don't we go outside and you can just catch your breath?
Yeah. We should maybe we should text Zander and Lucien and let them know that he's not alive and they can continue with their. I think I could use some fresh air.
Okay, let's go. Let's go.
Do you want me to text them or you got it?
I'll pull up my smartphone and just send a quick text to Zander and Lucien.
All right. Lucien, you don't get a text because you don't have a phone. You are not enslaved to a phone. Zander,
right,
you're in.
Right.
So Naveen and Emily, you go outside, get some fresh air. Frieda, you're going to take a couple minutes just looking around the room. There's not a lot to look at, but there's, plenty on that mattress to look at. Zander, Lucien, you two are in the cellar, and you can very clearly hear footsteps above you. You're not worried about it. It doesn't sound like suspicious people. You know that it's your coworkers. Lucien, you open this lockbox, and instead of a glow of gold, instead it's just paperwork. Seems to be rather mundane paperwork. As you start to sift through it, you see that there is like insurance information. There's the deed to the property. and the deed is deeded to Hans Donauer. There's also a copy of Hans' will in this box. Looking through it, it seems pretty basic. There's just a few things. Most of his estate was the property, but it does also describe the exact spot where he wanted to be buried, which is a hill nearby. And around that time that you read that, Zander, your phone buzzes. Yes, go ahead.
Are we not in the country?
Yeah, you are.
And we are in a cellar.
You're in a cellar in the country.
I'm just wondering if the signal is so good that it would go through without difficulty.
In this case, it did.
How very curious.
Woohoo!
Zander, I think we know where the burial plot is. I know that is something I was curious about discovering.
That is a nice find. It seems they've confirmed Timo is dead upstairs.
Huh. I see. Are there any other discrepancies in the paperwork between what we have researched prior and what we see? And secondly, in the will, are there any other belongings that are particularly called out? Or was it just the property?
There are no other belongings of interest mentioned in the will, and everything that you read makes sense. All of Hans' property was willed to Rolf, who you have researched was Timo's older brother, and it doesn't mention Timo whatsoever in the will.
Curious. Do you want to continue searching down here, or would you like to retreat?
It seems like we found what we're looking for, a locked box, and we know his location.
It must be very significant, this location, for there were 2 locked doors / boxes preventing us, and Tino in the statement was fearful of coming down here.
Understandable in the middle of the night. But let's head on up.
You would also
Of
see,
course.
while you're in the cellar, that it looks that there's another stairway that goes up inside the house. Another access point inside the house.
Oh, a
Is
quick
it
way up.
locked? I threw my bolt cutters into the field, so I hope it will open normally.
I'll try pressing on it.
I'm so tempted to make it locked now, but it is actually open. I'm running a pre-written scenario, so I'm going to stay true to it. You press up, and there was like a box that was on top of this door, but it wasn't heavy. Just a cardboard box full of just miscellaneous things. You hear like clinking as you open up, as it falls off to the side. And you find yourselves in this open communal area. You're right next to a kitchen counter and a stovetop. You would likely hear Frieda walking around just a few feet away. You can't actually see her from this angle, but the bedroom door is very close by. And you would see a little bit of light coming in from down the far hallway where Emily and Naveen went outside.
Just curious. Curious if there's like drag marks anywhere in the house, just leading into rooms.
You would see like footsteps, some that seem more recent, because there was a lot of dust on the floor. Some that seem a little bit older, but nothing that seems like very, very old or anything that seems like aggressive. Like there wasn't anything that was like dragged around conspicuously so.
You said there was a box on top of the door to the cellar. And there were... It was not a heavy box, you said?
Correct. It was a cardboard box. If you flip through it, you would see that there's just old like knickknacks, things like that. Nothing really of interest.
I see. Well, You said the burial site is on the property. It is in walkable distance.
Yeah, you don't actually you haven't physically seen it or anything, but it's pretty well described. The hill to the southwest of the house. You saw one coming in that you would feel pretty confident that's where it is. Maybe about 400 meters away.
Should we locate some shovels to exhume the remains to see if they were liquefied as well?
Yes, we should. Do we know if that's in the direction of the shack that was mentioned? Or near the river?
There weren't clear directions on where the shack was, but it's the same vague direction. But the shack was supposed to be much further away.
Okay.
It is curious that there are dead cows. There was a dead man. Perhaps there is something in the soil that has caused an infection.
The cows have been bothering me since we got here. Can we check them out on the way?
Yes. Let us go. Seems as though Frieda, Emily, and Naveen have the house taken care of.
And Frieda, I think it'd be safe to say that you would hear Lucian and Zander moving around the house and softly speaking. Whether you actually hear the conversation, probably not, but you would recognize the voices and they're muffled.
We are both very stealthy, however, so it is possible that he and I are tiptoeing very quietly.
Are you tiptoeing?
No.
Yeah, I think Frieda's pretty focused on checking out the room.
All right. Lucian, Zander, do you go out the back door or do you go out the front door?
That's where Emily and Naveen are. Tell them where we're headed.
They're just a few steps away at the front of the house, I assume, unless you two went further away.
Probably just down the steps, I would imagine. So if Emily throws up again, she's throwing up into the weeds and grass and whatnot. Yeah. So
Naveen is absolutely that girl, who knows all, who's spent a lot of time around, drunk and throwing up women in clubs and bars. So she's, complimenting Emily's eyeliner and telling her it's not a big deal, and her body's just catching up to her brain and just generally talking her down emotionally.
Smell the smell is so and I would almost imagine it's unbeknownst to her, when Lucian and Zander are just around the corner, she gives one last just kind of there's barely anything left, and it's more of just sort of a dry heave.
And the two of you see this, and Emily, she's pale. She looks sick.
Ugh.
Do you have any water? I don't have any on me. Mine's in the car.
Who are you? Oh. And Emily, there's more of an audience now, and so she's she's pale and now she's red, and so it's just this combination of green and red and just.
We are going to see the dead cows, and then we are going to exhume a body.
Oh,
okay, you don't need help with that, do you? Because there's some really disgusting stuff in the house.
We are looking for shovels to pull, but it might be very difficult for us because we are two very weak men.
I don't believe that. I believe that you are both quite capable of this task.
You're welcome to come along.
No,
Inside
thank you.
is too.
It sounds like you're digging up dead bodies and looking at dead cows. I appreciate the offer, but no, thank you. I don't.
I'll sit here with Emily.
I have something for you, though, and she'll go into her bag, and she has 2 other handkerchiefs that have essential oils on them. It didn't do much for me, but maybe it will help you. And she has sort of handkerchief for both of you. It will help with the odor.
I'll wrap it around my neck.
Lucian?
Perhaps you should keep it for a second layer. It looks
I
as
threw
though
up
the
into my first one.
That is why I'm saying you could keep this one.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Are you
I
sure?
work quite regularly with spray cans. My sense of smell, well, I have no need for olfactories.
Oh, and Emily loves flowers. And so like her brain very quickly goes to, oh, well, there are so many lovely things to smell that you miss out on.
Name 7.
And she'll name 7 flowers. Like she just runs through like rose, petunia. It just like runs through like off the top of her head very easily.
Do any of those attract a species of wasp known as Omicron?
I do not know. Is there something important about Omicron wasps?
Etched into the exterior of the house is a mildly complex mathematical equation that, if taken at face value, makes no mathematical sense unless you remove one variable, the Omicron, which is a letter in the Greek alphabet. Interestingly, once removed, the equation works perfectly, but also the Omicron is a species of wasp, and considering our recent encounters with insects, I find any manifestation or reference to an insect to be a curious one. It is possible that it is purely coincidence, of course, but I did put a decent amount of effort into deciphering the equation. I assume it means something. Just what, I do not yet know.
And she'll kind of go back in her bag, and she's got the journal and the pen that she was sort of like writing down the room numbers and the house. Could you, before we go too far, could you write down the equation?
It is on the exterior of the building. Perhaps.
Well, maybe Emily, you and I can go do that while they're looking up the body and things.
Oh, that would be more time outside. That would be more time in the fresh air.
Absolutely. Oh, hey, Lucian, while we're on the subject, have you ever been in the parking lot across the street? Like, have you ever seen that stairwell?
Here?
Well, just across the street from the institute, the parking lot there.
The parking garage that's covered in spray paint of mathematical art.
I am aware of it, yes.
Well, I was kind of reminded of it yesterday, but there's this really gorgeous, like, it was like math art, almost. It was like really beautiful, very you, honestly. And you haven't seen it, you should probably check it out. I don't know if it's anything similar to what you guys just saw, but you know, if we're talking about like interesting math, that was interesting math.
Game Master, was this something that Lucian did himself, or was this another?
I always assumed it was you, but I didn't want to put that on you if you didn't want to.
Yes, I assumed as well, but I did not want to claim it in case you had an ulterior motive. And he will say, I am glad that you find value in looking at it. We are going to go dig up some dead bodies now.
Was value inside? Did you find the book of the Greek alphabet? It was mentioned. Or any books?
No, it looked like a pretty empty space except for the body in the bedroom. But Frieda's still looking around inside, so she might come across it. But we didn't.
It was mainly farming equipment in rooms. in there. But
You
we'll
would have
look.
seen some shovels in there too. Those might come in handy.
Oh, in fact, now that we're thinking of things inside, Lucian, you mentioned need for shovels, and
Yes.
she'll look to her little map that she's been drawing. If you go in the door and you go this way, there are shovels in that room 2.
What is the smudge right here?
That was a bureau that was blocking the front door.
I see. It smells like... But it smells like aerosol cans, so never mind. Yes, we shall go get this shovel so that we can pull them.
Okay, I'm going to stay outside where the smell isn't so bad. Do you want to borrow this just for when you go inside the house, and I'll take it back when you come outside?
You should keep it. You need it more than I do.
No, you're right. I do.
I have no need for oxygen.
And Emily
One of his
sort
jokes he's been working on.
Oh, and Emily she like turns around and throws up one last time. She thought she was done, and she wasn't. And she just, as she's sort of bent over throwing up again, she's just sort of like waving you on that she's now embarrassed that she's doing this again with 3 people standing around.
All right, Lucian, Zander, you go inside, you grab a couple shovels. Frieda, you are searching this room.
Yes.
And there's not a lot in this room. You've already seen like the main bits. There's not even a ton of furniture in this room other than the mattress. There's a couple boxes. You can tell they were like set up in ways so that you could like kind of use them sort of as a table. But it was very haphazard. It doesn't look like Timo was staying here very long, which just leaves that bed to search. Give me an intellect save, difficulty 4 here.
Okay. Would forensics help me with this intellect save?
So that would help with skills, but not with saves.
Got it. Okay.
This is more about mental fortitude.
Rip it. Oh, I beat a difficulty 4, 12.
There you go. That's exactly what you needed. You do still take 1 point of stress here.
Okay.
Because this is a very intense scene, which I believe puts you up to 3 total, right?
Correct.
You said you had gloves on. You very carefully peel off this blanket that's covering the goop. You can tell the mess kind of like glued it to the mattress underneath, and there's just this sickening like wet sound. However long it's been here, it has not fully dried, and just you're like opening it up to oxygen. That smell is overpowering, but you're able to keep it together. You see bits of teeth, chunks of bone, not even full bones, just chunks here and there. There's clumps of like hair that are stuck to the seat cushion that was used as a pillow. You see that there are like clothes that are kind of like fused into both the blanket and the mattress from where this goop glued it together. The clothes look like they were torn and ripped in a couple places. You have nothing but regret for looking through this bed. You see little bits, but there's nothing that really tells you anything. You just now have this memory stuck in your head for the rest of your life.
Gross. And she's, reciting to herself, does not show, because it doesn't show normal signs of decomposition because the bones aren't whole.
No, not whatsoever.
And, she'll kind of look over at Emily's like barf, and it kind of looks like he was digested in a way with the way bits are missing. And she's trying to rationalize it, but she realizes that there is no cause that makes sense for what has happened to this man. And so she'll just kind of get up, and she will dispose of these disgusting gloves carefully. And she'll leave, and she'll go sit out on the porch steps. And she's not really talking to Naveen or Emily. She's just kind of sitting there for a little bit as she is trying to like get rid of this horrible event that she just kind of powered through.
And you probably have a little bit of space anyways, because Emily and Naveen said they were going to go around the house and start documenting that equation anyways.
Yeah.
Lucian, Zander, you start making your way through these fields. They have nothing's been purposefully grown on them for some time. The grass comes up pretty high in some places, but there are other places where, it looks like, cows have been out to pasture and it keeps it a little bit lower. So it's really just like an area around the house that's higher where the cows don't bother really going up to the house. Once you get past those higher weeds, it gets a little bit more manageable, but still uneven and patchy in many places. And you find your way up to a cow. It's messy. Both of you that look at this, you're going to take 1 point of stress just from seeing this. It's lying on its side. Its head is just flat on the ground. Eyes are closed. You see that there are flies buzzing because its ribs are sticking out of its skin. The skin doesn't look like it was cut. It doesn't look like it was flayed. It wasn't peeled back. The skin is still there under the ribs. The ribs have somehow punctured through in a strange way, but they couldn't have punctured through because they've been braided together. It looks like this strange birth defect, but it can't be a birth defect because this is a full-grown cow. No calf born like this would be able to survive long enough to grow this big. The ribs they're just braided and intertwined together, and you look underneath the ribs above the flesh still. You see like the white and brown splotchy colors of the fur. You still see that there are organs there. There's a single lung that comes out. There's a stomach that you can see that both sides they look like they're still attached to the cow. They just go in and out of the flesh, out of the skin. And then you see a heart further up, and you see that it's still and you hear a low as this cow bellows in what seems to be pain. You realize this cow is still alive.
This is the third time I've seen this. Once in a dream.
Now, this is not the same as your dream. In the dream, or both your deja vu and the dream, it was mutilated by an axe. Like it was actually chopped and sliced up. There was very visibly like something that damaged it. This cow, it looks like there's no signs of trauma, despite this being a life-threatening injury of sorts.
Lucian pulls his pistol out of his backpack and shoots the creature in the head to put it out of its misery.
Frieda, Naveen, Emily, you hear a gunshot ring out from just about 200 meters away. You all can turn your heads and you immediately see that Lucian is standing over the cow. Seems to be the direction the gunshot came from. Lucian, you pull the trigger, blow off the smoke. It does end the bellowing of the cow. You see that the heart still thumps a little bit longer, but then it slowly dies down and loses that rhythm.
You said you saw this in a dream?
Not as mutilated, slaughtered.
Curious. Before our previous investigation, we saw preludes of insects only to find insects. Here, you have seen a prelude of a bovine only to find a bovine. Fascinating. Lucian would like to look more closely at the creature, especially the braided ribs, because he wants to see if they are rigid or if they are at all malleable.
No check required here. You're able to, the cow's dead. It's not going anywhere now. You are able to inspect as long as you want. You're able to poke, prod, whatever you want to do. The ribs are hard. They feel exactly like cow bones should feel like. They are not malleable. There's no way to unbraid them without breaking them.
Lucian touches the braided ribs and then touches his own ribs. And then he says to Zander, "What is it do you think could have done this?"
This is out of my imagination. It doesn't seem possible.
It could be a mutation, biological, of some kind, or some sort of cruel sort of mutilation.
As you say that, you hear another bellow coming from that second cow lying just another 20 meters away. Apparently that one is actually alive as well. As you were so taken by the sight of this one and how grotesque it is, you look over and you see that one is also equally changed. You can't even say mutilated because there was no sign of physical trauma. You see that its legs look like they've been stretched and then wrapped around and tied in like knots around the back of its torso. You see that its head has been twisted around as well to make this upside down cow, except the torso itself is actually the way it's meant to be. And it bellows again.
Lucian will
Another
slowly walk
gunshot rings
over.
out.
Yes.
Zander at this point gets a text from Naveen. Everything okay?
Everything's fine. Bang, 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 bang.
And then Zander falls
There's a
over.
fly.
Are there any signs, either on the carcasses of these creatures or in the immediate area surrounding them, of some sort of occult or mathematic symbology? Or even looking around them, any signs of comings and goings from the body other than our own footprints?
You can tell that there's the comings and goings. Let's go ahead and call an intellect for that. And it's a field where there like are cows out to pasture, so I think it'd be fairly difficult. Let's say difficulty 6.
Okay. I will use perception, I believe.
Yep, go ahead.
Applicable. Then I think he has pulled out his pistol, which he does not like to do. And he does not like to see creatures suffering, as these two are. So I think I'm going to use a Cypher. I'm going to use Squirm as the adrenaline of pulling out the gun and shooting it eases the action I am taking by 3 steps. Unless you do not think that would apply.
No, I think that's perfect. So with the perception and the Cypher, that's 4 steps, so that makes it difficulty 2.
Okay. Unfortunately, I don't think there is anything else I could use to reduce it further.
You could spend effort if you'd like to spend some points.
This is intellect, yes?
Yes, intellect.
I will use it to reduce it once more.
And bear in mind, you guys, that you can regain points just by resting. The more often you do it, the longer it takes. But the first time to regain points only takes like a couple seconds. It's an action.
I rolled a 12, which will beat the difficulty of fear.
All right. You only had a difficulty of Zwei, I believe. So that is a pass. You're looking around and you see that there are a lot of hoof prints from the cows that were through here. You see that the cows that are dead in front of you, they didn't actually, like the hoof prints that are in the general area, it doesn't look like they were fleeing anything. It doesn't look like they were chased. There's no sign of a struggle, I guess, of like cows running away. But you do notice that there are other footprints as well, specifically humanoid footprints. They look like people have been walking through here fairly recently. It's rained in the past few days, as you can tell. Like they're like, it's a little bit more greener than it should be, and like Frieda saw those books that were damp, so it's washed away some of these markings, but you can still see what's left of them, traces of them. You see that there are people, likely regular sized folk. It doesn't look anything too outrageous until you see one set of footsteps that look odd. They don't look like hooves. It's not that same circular shape that's like a deep imprint, but it is a wide circular shape. It gives you the impression of like an elephant foot, but it's not nearly that massive, and it doesn't weigh nearly as much either. It almost looks like someone strapped frisbees to the bottom of their feet and was walking that way. As stupid as that sounds, like, that's not what happened, but that's the shape that it makes, that like circular shape. It's not the same shape of a human footprint. And you can see these steps, they circle around these cows for a little bit. They specifically spent time around these two cows before moving on again.
Snowshoes, Stephen. There's snowshoes. Clearly.
Not quite the tennis racket shape, though.
Zander, what do you make of this? Look here. Lucian will point everything out to Zander, because he was incapable of finding it himself.
Circular tracks.
Yes.
It's a strange shape.
It is.
Don't follow.
That is a very, very interesting proposition, Zander. Could we follow the circular tracks?
It's the first sign of anything out here. Let's give it a go.
Yes.
Would you rather follow the tracks than go to the hill that you were headed towards then?
The hill will be there when we return.
Okay. Rolling Nomads, thank you for that raid. Appreciate you guys showing up. We're dealing with some cattle mutilations, but don't worry, we put them out of their misery. And we are now following some strange tracks. It's not too hard to follow these because they're so unique. Once you pick up that they're tracks, it would have been easy to miss them without realizing they were tracks, but once you know what they are, it's fairly easy to follow, and they meander. They didn't walk with a purpose anywhere. They just kind of like curve, not necessarily taking the easiest routes either. It's not difficult terrain here. This is farm fields, and they're fairly flat. There's only a couple hills nearby. The whole region is fairly flat. And it just, at one point, it takes you to a small river nearby, which you knew from the statement that there was a river, but then the trail continues to meander away from the river. And it just kind of like weaves throughout these fields. As you two are following that, let's cut back to the three at the house. Frieda, Naveen, Emily. You are either taking time sitting on the step, or you're copying down this equation as best you can. It gets to the point where you start thinking maybe you should take pictures as well. So maybe you grab a phone and you just snap a couple pictures.
I was gonna ask if I could do it with my smartphone or
absolutely
that I have.
So you document it two ways just to have it. And it takes a little bit of time. When you finish with that, you look up and you realize that Zander and Lucian are not anywhere to be seen. They said they were going to be at the top of the hill nearby. You can see the hill. There's no one up there.
So Emily is, speaking of ciphers, Emily, when Naveen and Frieda are kind of looking at the equation that Lucian had talked about, I'm going to invoke Stare into the Vast. So Emily's trying to sort of get her bearings again because she's leading this, the archivist in this particular statement. And so Stare into the Vast is basically stilling your racing thoughts. You regain a number of points equal to this Cypher's level to your intellect pool. Which I've got a 7 in the Stare into the Vast. So like it's kind of she's kind of, everything that Naveed had been talking about, kind of like mind over matter, and, kind of Lucian had, kind of given her back the other handkerchief with the essential oils. And so she's definitely sort of doing her essential oils thing of, kind of, breathing in that scent and kind of grounding herself. And so she's sort of letting the two of them do their thing for a bit. And that's kind of what she's paying attention to, is a little more kind of internal. And so then I will have my intellect back. I was down to a 6, so then I'll be back up to a 13.
Fantastic. Excellent. While Emily is regrouping and centering herself, Naveen, Frieda, what are you two doing?
Well, Naveen was looking at the equations and such. Frieda would have been looking at that book that she found until we realized that it's been a while that the boys have been gone.
Flipping through the book, it's all in Greek. Do you have any way to translate?
I actually have an ability. I have Decipher. I can spend an intellect point, and after spending a minute examining a piece of writing or code in a language I don't understand, I can make an intellect roll to try and get the gist of the message. Difficulty is usually a 3, but maybe higher based on the complexity of the language or code.
It's Greek, so we'll say like you've got your phone out. There's a lot of resources you can tap into for that. I'd say 3 makes sense.
All right, and then I'll make that intellect roll. No, 2.
2. And we are in horror mode.
We
which
are
means
in
a
horror
2
mode.
is a GM intrusion as well.
Is there any support I might give on this?
Didn't say it ahead of time.
No.
Yeah. You're doing a different thing. That's okay.
Yeah. There's been multiple things this session that I'm like, man, I wish I could help, but I reasonably don't think I can make the argument without feeling super stupid.
Totally fair.
I don't think it makes sense to be extremely punishing here. You're trying to do research. You're sitting on a stoop. You're not necessarily in physical danger. So what I think it makes sense is that this book is so ruined by rain that as you're flipping through it, the pages are like, they're crusted together, and you're trying to flip and just peel them apart. One by one, they just start ripping and breaking. And you try to be ever more gentle on the next one, and it continues to happen until eventually this book is just essentially ruined. You have bits and scraps of paper that you can try to kind of put together. I'm going to say it causes you 1 stress to so painstakingly try to translate this. I will say that you're going to get some basics about this, but not a ton of information.
Okay.
Mino Makria is Greek for like ward off, keep away, that kind of thing. And it appears to be a book about essentially carving symbols. It is about all you can get from it. And it's not necessarily like a how-to, but like a philosophy behind symbols and how they can be used.
Gotcha.
But otherwise, we're going to say it's damaged beyond repair with the intrusion.
Okay. Well, then with that, she'll call out to the girls and just be like, Lucian and Zander aren't on the hill. We should find out what's stalling them.
Naveen, you hear that, but what were you doing when you hear that?
I don't have any research abilities really. but I am super interested in that math. I wonder if I might use a combination of an ability and a cipher to get some more information about it. The cipher that I have is level 5. Yes, you had to be there. You recall any one experience you have. The experience can be no longer than 1 minute per cipher level, but the recall is perfect. So I can have a 5-minute experience that helps me understand this better. And the ability that I was hoping to use in combination is understanding one like point you observe or study a creature or object. Your next interaction with that creature object gains 1 asset.
So I don't want to shut you down, but essentially there's not much more you can get from this.
Okay.
So spending a cipher, especially that cipher, it's recall any experience you've ever had. Would you have had an experience with someone carving mathematical equations onto a house to understand what
Just
that is?
Lucian.
Right.
If I joined Lucian or one of his art expeditions.
Lucian already passed a very difficult
Yeah.
roll to get as much
Yeah.
information as he could from that ward. And that equation, sorry.
In that case, then I'd say there's nothing additional. I'm happy to move on to
Okay.
looking at them, after them, or however we're doing that.
Really take pictures of the equation, right? 'Cause, like,
Yeah. So
Yeah.
maybe that's what I'm doing. I am just helping document it because again, I'm very like pro Emily taking charge.
Naveen, it doesn't make sense for you to use the cipher in that instance because Lucian was already able to get all the information from there. So I would say go ahead and save it. But I will give you something.
Thank you.
As you were going through, you're documenting, you're essentially like collating this research that Emily has scribbled down that you've taken pictures of. You see Frieda is working on translating something too. And next to her, you see this old Luther Bible. You are already documenting things, so you just take it up and you flip through it, and immediately on the very first page, you see that there's writing in there in faded letters. This flowing handwriting reads, "Bury me on top of the old hill overlooking the farm with the one thing I must retain."
Okay. I'm gonna take a picture of that and send it to like our group chat thing, and also just kind of share that out loud with Frieda and Emily. One thing he must retain.
bury him on the hill. Which him? Do we think this was brother? Did we think this was Papa? Did we think this was him?
I don't even know. The boy said they were exhuming a grave, so
it was Hans who was buried here on the property, and presumably it maybe is the book that was referenced in the statement that the man was looking for.
That was what he was looking for, and that is why Timo wasn't able to present it, because it was no longer in his possession.
Yeah. I believe it's called the Bone Collar's Tale or something to that extent.
Yes.
So perhaps we should follow after Lucian and Zander. Do we think we should join them in the exhumation?
I think that's a good idea.
But at this point, you look up and they're not at the top of the hill. They're not in the field nearby.
I'm gonna try and call Zander.
Zander, you and Lucian are walking through the field, following these tracks. When you know what to look for, it's not too hard to follow. And your phone buzzes with a text.
If we following tracks, meet you at the hill.
You send that as a text. As you open your phone and you see that there's a picture that came in of that King James Bible that says the same thing: "Bury me on top of the hill, overlooking the farm, with the one thing I must retain." And as you go to type, that's when it flashes Naveen calling.
Hello?
Hi, we don't see you. Are you still on the hill?
Oh, no, we are following some tracks by the cows.
Oh,
Should be-
can you just give us a few minutes? We want to join you.
A few minutes? You want us to wait here?
Yeah, do you mind?
Oh, Lucian, do you mind waiting here? Naveen wants to catch up.
Of course.
Sorry, Naveen, we mind, even though the tracks aren't going
Well,
anywhere.
could you do it anyway? Even though you mind?
Well,
We can wait.
I'm gonna laugh like they're obviously making jokes and just
Right.
It would
hang up
give
me like,
us
okay, let's just go, guys.
an opportunity to talk about Star Trek together.
Zander, did you tell her where you were? Like the general direction?
yeah, by the cows.
The cows are where you started, but you have wandered for a good 20, 30 minutes now.
Hopefully they can find the tracks. It shouldn't be too hard.
We'll say if you gave them a general direction, they'll be able to find you, especially if they climb up that hill. They'll have a pretty good view. And you'll see that they got about a mile or so away as they were following these tracks. And you're able to, once you get on top of the hill, you have the vantage. You're able to follow up on looking for them. While you're on top of the hill, you also see a stone marker. And if you didn't know it was here, you would have missed it. It's very low to the ground, and it just reads Hans Donauer with nothing else there. But you wanted to move on. It doesn't look like anyone's messed with the marker in some time. The grass up here is all overgrown. It doesn't look like anyone's been walking on it either. You are the freshest group of people to cut through this part of the field in some time. And you're able to catch up. At this point, it's going to be early afternoon, maybe 1, 2 p.m., as you have all gathered together in this field and you want to continue following these tracks?
As we were, yes.
Do you know, Zander, that these tracks we are following bear an interesting resemblance to the shape of Omicron? The Omicron is like a...
It's like an O.
Exactly. These tracks are also like an O. What do you think it means?
A lot of coincidences colliding.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
And then the 5 of you regroup, Lucian and Zander standing there. Lucian, of course, motionless, as always. Zander maybe looking a little awkward. Is that fair to say?
Standing there, arms crossed, yeah.
Looking a little uncomfortable. And the 5 of you regroup and you begin following these tracks. And they lead to about 3-4 kilometers away from the farm, near this river, which it's more of a stream, really, and it's moving lazily along. And you realize that these tracks are finally going somewhere specific. Before they were meandering, but now they seem like they're going straight. And it doesn't take long before you come up and you crest over the top of another gentle hill, and you see where they're headed. There is a small wooden shack. It looks old, ramshackle. It's got small glass windows next to the door that is right next to the river.
That appears to be a shack. We were going to be looking for a shack.
One that was mentioned. You saw the old man in. Oh,
Indeed. I'm not sure if we mentioned it, but when we got to the top of the hill from the house, we saw Hans's burial site. But you all have the shovels, so on our way back, we can take care of that.
good. Let's see what we find here.
And you go, it's about another half kilometer to get to the shack. And again, the trail is straight right towards the shack. It was finally moving with a purpose. You get closer and closer. Doesn't seem that there's any sign of movement. There's no lights on in the shack. You don't see anything moving inside. The door is closed. The window, it's dusty and dirty, but it's dark inside. Someone would have some light in there. You get right next to the shack, and that's when you see that these circular footprints, these round footprints, they don't go inside. They circle it a bit, a few times maybe, before then they move on, and it looks like they go down into the river. But while you're looking at these tracks, you also notice that there are actually human footprints as well around this shack. There's some that it appears to be at least a couple different people here. None of you, I assume, are expert trackers, but you can tell that one of them is wearing what appears to be like a sneaker with like the tread, and then the other one, whatever shoe they're wearing, there's no tread whatsoever. There's no like actual mark. It's just the roundish shape. But both of them are like shoe footprints, which are very different than those round ones. And it doesn't look like they connect or intersect in any way. Looking in the window, you can't see much. It's dark. You pull up a flashlight and you shine it in, and you see the ceiling is low. It's a small shack, but hanging from the ceiling, literally hundreds of pieces of twine, of string, with delicate little pieces of art assembled from small animal bones, all sorts of different shapes, all sorts of different symbols, you could say. You see that most of them, they look like they've been there for a long time. There are cobwebs that like gather them through, and they're so dense that there's no way anyone could actually move through the shack without moving. You'd have to like belly crawl to get through them without disturbing any of them. What are you doing?
I would say Emily again is going to kind of go up and bang on the door. And she's just going to kind of bang on the door. Hello?
No response. Looking through the window, you can see the shack maybe 7 foot by 7 foot. I'm sorry, 2 meters by 2 meters. A bit more than that. If there was someone in there, you would see.
There does not appear to be anyone here. Lucian, did you see the arch inside?
Let me see. I shall be the judge of this. Art. Lucian would like to perhaps examine the small bones to see if there is some significance. He has studied occultism, of course. Is it possible that I could see something that would provide context to the inhabitant of the shack?
Are you going in the shack? Are you like trying to open the door to look at them, or are you just looking through the window to study them?
Currently, I am looking through the window until someone opens the door for me. I left my bolt cutters in the field.
I'm gonna try the door, remembering Emily's thing from before.
So Naveen, you go up to the door, but Lucian, you're looking through the window. This is going to be difficulty 3, but we'll increase the difficulty to 4 because you're looking through a dirty window and you only have a limited vantage.
Okay. I have occultism.
I'll take occultism for sure.
I have perception.
Yeah, we'll take perception.
Okay. I have religion, if these have a religious connotation.
I won't give you religion on this one, no.
I see. It is disappointing. So I am at 2, I believe.
Correct.
I'm about to roll a 2. What did I roll, everybody?
Yeah, 2. It's not good that you rolled a 2.
I have
You
rolled
rolled a 2.
a preponderance of 2s. That makes me think that either there is something perhaps wrong with the randomization of this particular Foundry VTT model,
No.
or this entire campaign's big bad is a giant shit monster. There can be
Why
no
not both?
other options.
All right, we'll say for this intrusion, you have that flashlight up and you're trying to get a good look. And you just gently press that flashlight up. But this shack is so ramshackle and this glass is so worn and old that just the slightest little bit of pressure from your flashlight and this glass window just shatters. Glass goes flying. We'll say that it gives you like a minor cut on your hand. Take 1 stress. And it makes a lot of noise as this the glass just shatters and then just crashes down to the wooden floor inside. Looking at the bones, however, you can tell that there are like sorts of occult imagery. Nothing that's like very specific. It doesn't scream like a very specific spell or anything like that. And honestly, the bits that are occult are only here and there. It almost seems like, in an artist's sense, it seems like someone was rambling. Like there were times the pieces where they had focus, they had thought, and then there were other times where they were just putting it together without even thinking, without any purpose. And it kind of varies between that. So it doesn't seem like there is any full intent behind this that would have anything to do with occult or that screams any specific symbol.
These works appear to be erratic, manic, but I am not privy to a higher purpose to them. But if the door does not open, the window is now open.
Naveen, the door does open. So you're able to open the door out, and you see that these strings, like, it almost looks like it was made in layers. Like there are some that came down to head height, and then there were more that were like, some were extended on, like they were tied onto existing ones. Some are just very long pieces of string that go. But there are just hundreds of these that are hanging from the ceiling in all different places. You see the ceiling, there are just tons and tons of small nails that are just hammered into the top that each piece of string is tied onto. It looks like a lot of
color, or like different color pieces of string.
So the string, it looks like it's all twine.
Okay.
The bones are varying colors. Some look a lot older than others. Some look a bit more fresh, but none of them have like gore or fur or anything on them. They have all been cleaned, but you can tell that this has been a process of years.
Okay.
And Emily had her like journal and pen out, and like, you know, she was like mapping the house and labeling all of the doors and everything. And she's just sort of like looking at her paper and looking at this thing and looking at the paper, and she just is not sure how to like make note of this. And so she just like looks like she's gonna try, and then just writes mobile of animal bones.
Do you want me to just take some pictures? We can just use pictures in the thing.
Yes, of course. And she just would see photo.
Yeah, I'm gonna take pictures with my smartphone.
All right, and you take some pictures from the doorway, and you get as good as a phone camera can. It's very dark in there. There's some light coming in from the open doorway, but it doesn't penetrate very far into this room because there's so much blocking it all. Do any of you go in?
Naveen does, and is I think she's quite like tactile when it comes to the investigation stuff. So she's kind of reaching up to the twine and just like inspecting it and that kind of thing. Because that's
Which
like
answers my question then, because there's no way to really there is no way to normally walk through without touching some of these bones. So if you're willing to touch them, that works. If you want to try and avoid touching any of them, like I said, you would have to belly crawl. Like they're so dense, like you can't even weave through.
No, because they're kind of bleached and don't have gore on them. Like I think it's okay to navigate through. If they were like wet and squelchy, then maybe, but they're pretty dry.
And you move through, and it sounds like this cascade, like the beads that hang from doorways, but just layers and layers of them as they just rattle throughout, and they kind of like echo in this tiny little shack together. As you're moving through and touching them, you do notice that there are like cobwebs that like have grown around the bones on the edges of this room. But throughout the center of this room, there aren't any real cobwebs that connect any of them.
Okay. So she says over her shoulder, like, Lucy, and that Omicron thing was a wasp, you said, right? Not a spider? There's like cobwebs here.
I do not know if insects have anything to do with this particular mystery. It was just a interesting piece of information. Do you see a specific kind of spider?
Well, I just see the cobwebs. I don't really know very much about like insects and that kind of thing, but can you tell what kind of spider from the cobweb?
No. But if you track the spider web back to its nexus, you might be able to find whatever its prey was.
Oh, that's a good idea. And she'll point out the cobwebs and see if we can do that.
So we'll say that you're just searching this whole shack because it's small. It's a very simple roll. It's going to be difficulty 2, intellect.
And I'd love to help whoever is searching because Naveen does not have.
You're the only one in the shack.
Looking around.
So you are the one searching in this case.
Oh, great. This is going to go really well there, guys.
Lucian will also say, if you see a spider, be careful. It could be venomous. It could kill you in an instant. It could be responsible for the liquefaction of a... I'm sorry, the joke thing is just, it's very I don't like it.
I think you're funny when you're not trying to be funny. Anyway,
All right, Naveen, do you have anything you want to try and use on this roll?
I'd love to try and use understanding, which is used for our study a creature object for, and your next interaction with the creature object gains 1 asset.
Absolutely.
I'm
So you're
not
spending
sure if the shack counts as like 1.
Absolutely. I think that's great. So the difficulty 2 ease down to difficulty 1. If you spend effort, that makes it routine. You don't even have to roll.
Yeah. Sweet.
So it would be 3 points of intellect minus whatever edge you have.
Okay. So that is just straight 3. So
Okay.
that's out.
So that makes this a routine roll, which does not require a roll, which means you don't have a chance for an intrusion here. So you get a success. You're spending some time looking around, and You do see a couple spiders here and there. You're out in the country. It's a shack. It doesn't seem like there's anything strange about these spiders. They seem to be very normal. What you do notice, though, as you're looking, is that the reason that there's no cobwebs in the middle of all of these bones and ornaments is because someone passes through here somewhat regularly. In fact, you move towards the back of the shack and you realize that there are floorboards that are, you step on them and they sound like there's a hollow thud. And then you look and you realize that they're not nailed in whatsoever. And there's actually a little bit of space that if you wanted to, you could easily just lift them up.
I would like to.
You
Naveen, should
lift
we
them up.
come inside with you?
Yes, definitely.
So you hear the rattle of bones as Emily steps inside and it cascades like we were talking about as you lift up a couple of these floorboards and you see that there is this tunnel that just goes down into darkness. You see that there are some wooden boards that look like they've been hammered into the earth, creating this sort of makeshift ladder, but then it just descends into black. And that's where we'll go ahead and fade to black for the session. And we'll pick up 2 weeks.
I was about to bring out my night vision goggles and say, I will lead you.
That's something we didn't get to.
Perfect.
Xander, do you think it's weird that Lucian has a pistol? Like,
Yeah,
did
he
you
has
know
a
he carries
pistol.
one?
It's like, I didn't know he carried one, so that was a bit weird.
So he just pulls out a pistol and shoots a cow in front of you. We'll delve into that in a future episode.
Something to say
Yeah.
about that? Because I would
Clearly.
like to hear it. No. Continue with your complaint.
All right, let's do some shout outs. Naveen, my trade. What do you got going on in the world?
I am to place games on YouTube where I make system agnostic or multi-system development content. I'm actually getting back to YouTube soon, I hope. So I'm excited.
Awesome, fantastic. I believe I'm still your most recent video, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Huckberry. So if people want to go and watch me gush about Huckberry, you should go watch that.
And I'll go ahead and gush about Huckleberry right now. I made a tabletop RPG. It's pretty flippin' awesome. If you like horror, if you like westerns, it's fantastic. HuckleberryRPG.com has all the links. We are gearing up for a print run. So we will be doing a back kit here in a few short months. It is coming up quick. Not nervous at all. It's going to be fine. But yeah, check it out. If you want the digital copy, it's on DriveThruRPG, and we have a free version, a quick start version. So you can check it out for free as well. Jeff, what do we got going on with Lollygaggers?
Hi. So tomorrow is our next stream. We're playing more Call of Cthulhu. You can see the same crew. Steven and I just switched seats. And yeah, they're in Ethiopia and they just wandered out. I'm not sure long spoiler alert, realize this. They decided to wander out into the desert of Ethiopia all by themselves in the middle of the night after some gunshots ring out. So I'm sure it'll be a quick sesh and then we'll figure out what we're going to play next. Monday, we're off Monday, but we are going to be back the week later. I think that's the plan right now with a new game yet to be announced. Tuesday, Perils and Princesses. You can see Kipser. We're getting very close. It could be the finale or at least the penultimate episode. So we're getting pretty close to the end of Perils and Princesses from what Kipser said. Thursday next week, we got more Swords of the Serpentine. And yeah, that's a weird, giant, crazy, haunted House of Lee's house. So it's pretty fun. And next Friday, we'll have more Dragon Maid. And in 2 weeks, we got more Magnus Archives. So that's what we got.
Woo-hoo.
All right. Well, I got a raid queued up. We're gonna raid our friends at Ticking Time Bomb Gaming. They're playing some Pendragon. So,
Fantastic.
follow the raid.
Yay. Thank you, Rolling Nomads, for rating us.
Okay. All right. So I guess that's it. Follow, rate. Have a great rest of your night. We'll see y'all later. Auf Wiedersehen.
Later.
Bye.